Welcome to Capitol Theater's Musical Moments. This series of educational and hopefully entertaining offerings is made possible by the generous support of our sponsors, Popoff Inc., Concrete Contracting, with additional support from Baker Boyer Bank, Fresh Hop Group, G.H. Moen LLC, the Moen Family, Red and Carolyn Ramsey, Yakima Sunrise Rotary, and from donors just like you.
Hi.
Hello.
This is Al.
This is Charlie.
I'm going first this time. First, because this show was the first show I ever saw on Broadway. Like Broadway, like actually go to New York. My brother and I went and saw this. All-time one of my favorite musicals by Stephen Sondheim, one of our all-time favorite composers. For like a lot of people share that thought. The show is called Into the Woods.
It is also the first show that we ever worked on together.
Another first, that's right.
We avoided that for a very long time due to our competitive nature.
I was the music director.
And I was brought in to play the wolf. They split off the wolf's character from Rapunzel's character.
And not...
Or Cinderella's.
So you did not play the prince.
I did not play the prince. I only played the wolf. I only had a little bit of time and they wanted me in the show.
Okay, so this song is actually sung by the two princes, Cinderella's prince and Rapunzel's prince.
The Prince is Charming.
The Prince is Charming, and they're singing about the agony around having these women that they're pining after but can't attain. So this song is called Agony.
I abuse her or show her disdain? Why does she run from me? If I should lose her, how shall I regain the heart she has won from me? Agony beyond power of speech, when the one thing you want is the only thing out of your reach.
High in her tower she sits by the hour, maintaining her hair. Blithe and becoming, and frequently humming a light-hearted air. Agony, far more painful than yours. When you know she would go with you if there only were doors. Agony, oh the torture they teach. What's so intriguing
or half so fatiguing as what's out of reach? Am I not sensitive, caring, well-mannered, considerate, passionate, charming, as kind as I'm handsome, and heir to a throne?
You are everything maidens could wish for.
And why no? The girl must be mad.
You know nothing of madness till you're climbing her hair and you see her up there as you're nearing her, all the while hearing her agony, misery, although it's different for each.
Always 10 steps behind,
always 10 feet below,
and she's just out of reach.
Agony that can cut like a knife. I must have her to wife.
We so enjoy singing that song. Stephen Sondheim wrote the music and lyrics for Into the Woods. The book was written by James Lapine, and the two of them had collaborated on a few other projects as well, including Sunday in the Park with George, Passion, and a musical review called Sondheim on Sondheim. Now, when Into the Woods came out in 1987, it was up for 10 Tonys, 10 nominations, for which it won 3. Best Original Score, Best Book of a Musical, and Best Performance by a Leading Actress, and that was Joanna Gleason, and she was awesome. That same year, the music that was up for the Tonys was Phantom of the Opera. It had 9 nominations, and it won 7 Tonys. It took away the title for Best Musical. I might differ, but nonetheless. Sondheim has won an Academy Award. He has won 8 Grammy Awards. He's won 7 Tonys for lyrics and for Best Original Score. He's also won the Lifetime Achievement Award in theater from the Tonys. And among his many, many other honors and awards, lest we forget, he was awarded in 2015 by President Obama the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And that's saying something. When Sondheim was 10 years old, he met and became friends with James Hammerstein, the son of Broadway lyricist Oscar Hammerstein. And for 20 years, until Oscar Hammerstein's death in 1960, Hammerstein was father figure, mentor, teacher, and advisor for Sondheim through the early part of his career. Now, Rodgers and Hammerstein are musical theater icons, and due to their success in really creating the formula for musical theater success that was decades long and ran from the 40s, the 50s, and into the 60s. And what they created as a formula, starting with their first collaboration in 1943, was really that balance of music, theater, movement, all sharing collectively in advancing the storyline and the character development. And that first Broadway blockbuster hit was Oklahoma, but then followed by The King and I and Showboat, Sound of Music, Cinderella, all these other titles which are really the mainstay foundation of a course in the genre, that really defined the early years of this industry and what really worked. His contemporaries in those early years were others who had decades-long success, such as Rawson Adler, Lerner and Lowe, Frank Lesser, and apologies to any others I'm forgetting. But in his early years, Sondheim was tapped as a lyricist. Now, as a composer as well, he was concerned about being pigeonholed. But he took the advice of his mentor and he took the jobs, and that led to the success that he had as lyricist with West Side Story and Gypsy. Now, with the success of those projects, he took on being, the writing music and lyrics, which led to the first of 5 of his projects for which, it was awarded the Tony for Best Musical, and that was A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Now, he did one more stint as strictly a lyricist when Oscar Hammerstein, early in a project, had passed away, and Sondheim stepped in to work with Richard Rodgers, and that was Do I Hear a Waltz? It was not a successful partnership for the two of them. They didn't quite get along, rubbed each other the wrong way. But that did then convince him that he needed to always, write music and lyrics himself. And that led to the kinds of successes and the best musical awards for things like Company and Follies and A Little Night Music, Sunday in the Park with George, and Into the Woods. The next part of his career, Sondheim was leading a whole new cadre of composers and lyricists. And that included Stephen Schwartz, Ahrens and Flaherty, Cadner and Ebb, and even Andrew Lloyd Webber with a whole host of his own collaborators. And as I mentioned in the Fantastics musical moment, in the 1960s there was a shift happening in the industry, and it was moving away from the big blockbuster opening numbers, more intimate themes, but it also was shifting from the more romanticism of the earlier era to a darker time, darker images, darker feel. Things got a bit grittier, and Broadway was certainly willing to take that on, and for Sondheim that was for something like the title of Sweeney Todd. Now, it was the sexual revolution, it was the civil rights movement, and Broadway did not shy away from either of those. After a couple more decades of success, Sondheim was starting to transition into a bit more of a consultant and or mentor role. In 2008, he approached Lin-Manuel Miranda to work with him translating West Side Story lyrics into Spanish for an upcoming revival on Broadway. Miranda had just opened In the Heights on Broadway, which won that year for Best Musical. Miranda then approached Sondheim to advise him a little bit on a new project called Hamilton. Now, Sondheim wrote notes for him. Initially, Sondheim was wary of the project because he was worried about how people would respond to a full evening of rap. And that was not an uncommon opinion back in the day, in the earlier years of rap. But it certainly was Sondheim's opinion that Miranda's attention to and respect for lyrics and rhyming would carry it. And boy, did it. Paying it forward has been one of the ways in which Sondheim has been honoring the mentorship that he received from Oscar Hammerstein. And he is certainly providing that for a whole new host of young industry leaders. Miranda has certainly done his best to move the genre forward with the introduction of contemporary musical styles. But I suggest he is also actively participating in a more significant shift that's taking place. Hamilton pushed the envelope in that very visible way in which racial identity was turned on its ear. Non-traditional and colorblind casting has been ever more present as an aspect of theater. So beautifully represented in Hamilton. But contemporary Broadway is also pushing even more buttons. I think ever more present LGBTQ-centric themes, Fun Home, parody up front and center, as we said, with Avenue Q, mental illness, and of course, other cultures representing something other than strictly white culture. Time will tell, who will be the ultimate leaders in the next period of the industry. I think that this transition is ever more obvious because we seem to be balancing these new visions with a whole host of comfortable retrospective works. Don't get me wrong, I love Memphis, $1 Million Quartet, An American in Paris, and Beautiful, the Carole King musical. And I certainly have an affinity for the cartoon musicals that we have seen, from Spider-Man and Aladdin and Frozen, but once Broadway can actually open up again, I look forward to seeing how this downtime has an effect on the products that are being presented and what's being produced and what those titles will look like, especially by 2022. So thanks again for sticking around. Thanks to my collaborative partner and husband, Al Fischer, and to all of our sponsors. And please, keep in mind to keep connected while we are all mindfully keeping apart. Thanks so much.